So I will start off today with the eyes, and
Hmm.
the latter part, then you have at least something that you can continue to do while all of us can color it, and then you'll know the coloring bit as well. So it's not as if you have to wait for half an hour before. All right, so we'll take on eyes today, and this is my absolute favorite topic. I can keep doing this
Yeah.
ever and ever. And I have in the past to some extent. And I can guarantee you that this has, like it came up in the in-person class yesterday, this has the best return on investment. Just this exercise of making eyes and then extend that to making faces. If you can just get over the frustration and pursue this every day for 3 months, this is like that Ramban Upai to become good at any kind of sketching at all.
It's
So
so tempting. I sat and sketched one while we were waiting to join the class. I just
I
couldn't.
saw it's nice, it's nice. So while on the all the other topics that we do, I try to get everyone to do the different topics because the frustration level is very low and the expectation is also is very low. So you land up happily doing that project, and it in the end you're pretty satisfied with your result, however critical you may be of your own talents. But with faces, I cannot, you have your own critique staying in your head that will tell you, no matter how much I tell you this is good, you know if it is good or not. And that's just because of how we relate to faces. So I won't be doing the critique bit from how well you have done the eye, but I will tell you technically where you can change and make it better. So the best way I feel to tackle portraiture is to literally break up everything into bits and pieces. Faces are so complex that every little thing has got nuances, and every little nuance has its own complexity. So when we take the whole face, we look at we try to achieve far too many hurdles in one go. The eye itself, I think, is 50% of the problem. Not only is it a very complex structure, we have two. So we can't goof up. We can't, the two need to look like a matching set. So that increases the complexity way more than many of the other features. Even with hands and feet, though we have two of them, we can always do something like that and make it work. But with eyes, you can't have one eye looking up and one eye looking there. In fact, that is what you will be able to do the easiest in the beginning. So that is 50%. Then 50% is the nose and the mouth, which in itself has complexities, but it's like gentle creases. You can just sort that out very easily. So today we will tackle the eyes, and I've given you a whole bunch of eyes which you can practice literally daily. It's a 15-20 minute exercise. And this exercise, I'm going to show you a formula which you can follow to practice eyes. And then using that formula, how we can use a reference image and replicate that formula with minor tweaks. So the formula will give you literally an XYZ, like an algebraic formula, no absolutes. But when you see the real picture, a reference image, you have to then apply the formula to that real information. And that's what I will show you today. So to start with, we will create the formula on one side. We don't really have too much in terms of composition for this page. There will be the formula over here, and you can just draw all sorts of eyes all over the place. The factors that you need to keep in mind again and again are pretty much the same. These will help you build the eye as well, and also correct your way if you feel that you're going wrong.
Why
So
do
I
they
think
always show photos of the right eye mainly?
I'll explain. I'll explain that. Isn't there a photo of a left eye for you? Th- Later
Oh,
on,
didn't
there are
check. Ah,
photos.
there is, there is. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
so
right.
I knew you were attending, so I have
I'm
you
taking a
will
reputation.
no, you will be flipping the whole formula to the other side.
Shivani, you have all colored eyes.
All.
All.
So many variety.
Okay, so drawing eyes. Like anything else, we have the same things, same factors to consider. One is shapes, then is size or proportion, or size and proportion. Then we have placement. So placement with respect to all the other elements that need to be there. So in placement, you can have distance, and second, you can have space. So distance would be the distance of lines, and space obviously would be the blank or negative space between the elements. And the last thing for today's class will be tone or tonal value. That's more accurate, since we are going to do black and white. This is all you need to keep in mind when you are making the illustration. Much of it remains the same for any illustration. If something is not going right, one of these things is not working. Either the shape is not working, the size and proportion may be a little off. By proportion, it also has to do with the proportion of different things uh, in that feature, and similarly everything else. So while we are drawing it, I'm going to try to show you where these things will matter. So let's start with how to start the eye itself. Leave a little bit of head space from where you start. Don't make the first line here because we are making this eye bottom to top. The eye will come first and then the eyebrow. So I'm first going to draw a line, a certain distance in width. Don't erase any of these construction lines. You need to see these. Then a little above the line, I will draw a curve that has a reasonable curve to it. And the bottom is not as curved, it's a little shallow. These two lines do not touch at the edges. This is the outer edge of the lids. Now on the left side, Shivani, for now, just follow these instructions because this would have been right side for you. On the left side, just extend the eye or the curve of the eye a little further. And then you create a very small horizontal line that blends into the bottom lid in this manner. So instead of drawing eyes which are pinched at the edges, we are going to include a place where inside this is the tear duct. On the other side, we again don't join this. We will draw a curve that comes from a little underneath the upper lid, follows the inner, along the inner edge of the lower lid, and then goes and curves right back up on the other side. So this is actually the inner membrane of the eye. What we've drawn right now is the outer membrane and then the inner membrane. As far as possible, we will not have lines that join into each other anywhere in the human body. Now, from the inside to the outside, we will draw a fold of skin. Very often, the fold is slightly away from the lid on the inside of the eye and closer to the lid on the outside, but this is not universal. We'll just draw it that way for now. It's just important for you to know that the distances are different very often between the edge of the lid and the fold. Then measure the distance between the upper lid and lower lid, and about the same distance above the lid, not above the fold, above the upper lid, you will draw a short horizontal line, which will give you a certain area where you will construct the eyebrow. Somewhere in this vicinity, you will have the eyebrow. So now I have given you a proportion of space.
Can you repeat it again?
Yeah, so I am measuring how much space I have left over here between the upper and lower lid. So it's about maybe 1.5 centimeters. I take the same measurement above the lid and draw a line over there. So this is the vicinity in which we will draw the eyebrow. Not exactly on this line. We're going to make some kind of shape around this line, but over here. So not over here and not too far away. How do you know which is the exact position? Somewhere the same distance as the height of the eye. And you'll notice this very often when there are deep set eyes, the eyebrow is much closer. When the eyes are really large, the eyebrow is much further. So this formula, more or less, is pretty accurate. Okay, now, whenever we draw these guidelines, one thing you need to remember is the guidelines are the first loose shape that you get. So imagine if you're living in Bombay and somebody asks you, how do you get to Pune from there? You will not sit and give them, first you get out of my building, then you take a right, and then you take a left. No, that's not how you start doing it. You will tell them you head south or you head southeast. And then at so-and-so point, you will take this turn instead of that turn. So that you start giving them a general idea. And then as they come closer to where there is a detail required, you give them that detail. So when we draw these lines, remember this is not sacrosanct. This is the general area. This is the direction that you have been given. This is more or less the distance. And then we will make the shape. So I have found that in beginners, very often, when you make guidelines, you tend to stick to it like glue. The guidelines are malleable. Just remember that part. All right.
Aditi, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
When we are drawing Oriental eyes, for example, do these rules change?
Yes, yes. All these
Fair
rules
enough.
are malleable. So, like I said, this formula is only for you to practice. With Oriental eyes, things will change. With African eyes, things will change. Within India itself, there are so many different ethnicities where the proportions will change. So that we have to allow for. And even in that, this is how you measure. So it won't always be that the height of the eye is exactly the distance from the eye to the eyebrow, but you can use as a unit measure.
Okay.
As much as if the oriental eye is slightly narrow, with that as a unit, how far is the eyebrow? So you can still use this as a method of measuring space.
Okay.
All right, now the eyebrow is normally situated, wait, before the eyebrow, let me just make the iris. So the iris or the cornea is always touching and slightly overlapped by the top lid, always. But it also supposedly touches the bottom. That is the normal eye. So we will draw this eye such that the circle, which is supposed to be a perfect circle, is not complete at the top, but tends to touch at the bottom or is very close to the inner edge of the bottom lid. So take your time in making that circle. If it is not a circle when the eye is looking straight, then it can look like a defect in the eye. After this, we will make a circle in the center of the iris itself. This is going to be the pupil or the lens. The lens is right behind this. Now, I know all this technically. I've become an expert in this terminology because in the Tuesday class, there was an ophthalmologist who corrected all my terminology. So I know that this is supposed to be referred to as a cornea, not the iris, because the iris is inside and under the cornea. This is not a lens. We cannot see the lens. This is a pupil from where the light goes in, and the lens is behind this. And I keep calling this the tear duct. But this is not the tear duct. The tear duct is inside this. This is called some lacrimal gland or something like that. It's too long and I couldn't remember it, so forget it.
Alka is just shocked.
I'm just so amused. I can
So,
imagine this guy just correcting Aditi at every step, and Aditi is like, "Oh my God, okay, fine."
no, it's good actually. So this is Viju who attended a few lectures. And then when I told in the class that we're going to do eyes, she was most excited. She said, I've waited for this and I haven't done it in the classes
Oh,
that
this
I've
is
attended.
Biju. Okay, fine. I know her.
So she said, can I
Yeah,
please? You know her, na?
yeah,
She said,
yeah, I
I'm
know.
an ophthalmologist, so this is my subject. I'm very
Yeah,
interested. So she attended. And actually, I was very grateful
yeah,
because
this
I
is
don't
very
want
sweet.
to put out stuff. And she did. So I told her, I gave her permission. I said, Viju, I'm using the terms that I know, and they're very colloquial. So whenever possible, if you feel you can correct me, feel free to, because I don't mind setting my
Yeah.
sisters right. So she gave me, later on, she sent me a list of things that this is what you say, this is more technically correct if you want to change it. So it was invited, don't worry.
This is very sweet. Hmm.
All right. Now, for drawing the eyebrow, I think we did this last week also. There is a certain, at least direction you get. So we have to, in this case, imagine the tip of the nose that extends beyond. And from these pictures itself, you can more or less figure out what would be a good angle. I think my nose has become too long in this figure. Had my nose been somewhere here or maybe here, I would have been able to draw a line from the tip of the nose through the pupil, extending outward. And on this eyebrow line that we have made, the arch on the eyebrow comes at somewhere in this region. Again, this is a ballpark idea. So somewhere over there and aesthetically pleasing would be where we will draw the eyebrow. So imagine an angle. You don't have to draw a nose for this. You can imagine an angle from the tip of the nose towards the outside. At any rate, it is going to be beyond 1 o'clock. From the center of the eye, if this is 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. So it is somewhere between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Let's go with this angle, maybe a 45-degree angle. You can actually draw a line extending outwards. Check if you like that angle. And then you can either make this horizontal, this part, you make it horizontal, or you can bring a line in the center that's slightly lower, extend this upward, and then turn it on its side and get a better shape. So in this day and age, when we see so many shapely eyebrows and all sorts of stuff that people are doing with their eyebrows, this should be easy. At least we have the pleasure of seeing, what is that new thing that they do? There's some permanent eyebrow thing also they're doing, no? A friend of
Tattoo,
mine does it. Yeah,
tattoo. eyebrows. Chinese people love to do it here.
is it?
Hmm.
Maybe
They
because
take
their
them
eyebrows
all
are
out
very,
and they go and get this
yeah, maybe
tattoo place
their
or
eyebrows are
something.
very weak. I can imagine. All right. Okay, so now we've got our basic structure in place. And with this, mostly you can, from here onwards, it's just about shading and tonal study. So at this stage, we have just lines. Whenever you're practicing, these are the things that you could probably adjust and make different variations of. Like, for example, the moment you change this curve and make it slightly flatter, and this will become even flatter, then this will come closer, the eyebrows will come closer, everything will change. So after this part is done, I just want you to make a mental note that the structure is ready. And now we will start the shading. So for shading, you can first identify a position where you will keep the highlights. The highlight in the eye will be a loose, ovalish shape somewhere on the top. And like when we did the water drops, a lightish shade over here. So let's say this is no pencil shading. This is level 1 pencil shading, and the rest of it all will be shadow. And maybe some texture will come in this bottom part as well. Now we have blocked the highlights in the iris. Then in this section, we have a pad of skin that sticks outward. So this part also has a lighter shade. It may not have a highlight, but it'll definitely have a lighter shade. And then we have this part where nowadays, any of us who are doing any makeup for any occasion, you'll end up putting a little bit of highlight over here to make that eye look a little popped up. So these are more or less the places that you will find highlights. When we are sketching the other eyes, you'll notice that there may also be a highlight somewhere over here or over here, depending upon the facial structure. But this is good enough. Now for shading, we can begin first with just the iris. I'm not going to shade the skin around over here. I just want you to notice the highlighted areas. But we will shade the iris first with a very, very light shade. In order to shade this, hold your pencil really far away. That way you will keep it flat and the chances of making lines across this would be reduced. And go over the entire iris minus the highlight. So this is the lightest shade that you can make. Once this is done, we are going to darken an area on the top of the iris. So right below the lid, there is a shadow of the lid which falls on the eye. So this part often becomes really dark. And from there, we will make a graded shading coming down towards that oval shape we made right in the beginning. Because of the highlight, you'll have to do a little bit of musti over here to accommodate the pencil line around and about the highlight. So this shading won't be like one flat line shading. This will be more like going to that area and depositing a little bit of extra graphite in those places very deliberately. And when you come to this oval shape, we don't want it to be a very stark line. So again, reduce your pressure a little bit and make the line or blur the line a little bit by extending your shade a little beyond the oval shape. Once this is done, we will darken the outer circle. For most eyes, no matter how light the eye is, the edge of the iris is often very dark. You will notice that there are some eyes where the edge is not as dark, and then those eyes look really, really odd. Often these people will probably get the role of a villain in an old Nazi movie or something like that. Like really pale-eyed people. They somehow come across as really icy, cold people. Very unfair. So the edge of the eye again is, sorry, the iris, though it is dark, that can also be a slightly fuzzy line. Everything in the human body is just cells connected to other cells, connected to other cells. And in that, there is never like one perfect edge, unless, of course, it's like a cell wall or something that is sealing everything in. So you will find that there are lots of merges. One type of cell changes and becomes another size kind of cell in an area, and what connects it is like just a fuzzy line. These fuzzy lines will keep your illustration more realistic. If you make the lines very sharp, then they start looking more graphic. Now here you can see a very sharp line for the eyelids. And this, again, is more graphic than realistic. So here we will add a shadow. This shadow is the shadow that falls on the edge of the lid because of the thick eyelashes. Each of the eyelashes, because of their being there, creates a certain shadowy space. Right below that, you can also put in a little bit of a shadow on what's called the sclera, that's the white part of the eye. Because that again is a very natural shadow, excuse me, that would fall on the white part of the eye because of the light falling from somewhere up here and the lashes being in the way. Now, lashes is a big issue. I found that people have made lashes in all sorts of directions. There are some that go parallel in one direction. There are some that go very high and very far, but as straight lines. And all of that looks very unnatural. The lashes on human eyes are a part that comes straight. They don't go up. So we have to account for foreshortening. Foreshortening is when you have a three-dimensional object that is coming closer into the foreground, but you cannot see its entire length. You know that this is a tall thing, like my fingers, you know, are this long. But right now, because they're coming towards the viewer, they have become this short. Our brain just cannot compute this. It just goes into an error when you see a hand like this and it says, I can see what you're doing there, but this is not looking real. So we often tend to make lashes. Somebody with very long lashes will make those lashes as far as the eyebrow, and that looks even more artificial. So in order to draw the eyelash very naturally, all you need to do is create almost like a hook-like shape that comes up just about so much, not even higher. And this line is drawn like this. Don't draw the line like that or like this. Don't let it go out of your control. You will make a line that starts as a hook, like a very tiny U shape, and then you reduce pressure and then you hold its hand till you let go of the line. The directions that you will do will be radial. The lashes in the center will come or attempt to come upwards. The lashes on the side will do that same hook, but will curl a little bit and go to the side. And as they go further and further, the curl will increase and become much, much more visible. The lashes on the side will also look a lot longer. The lashes do not stand up as individual hairs. They often bunch up because there is so much liquid in the eye that part is often very moist. So you will see clumps of lashes. and they will also come into the area which we have drawn as the white of the eye, so that you get a very bumpy inner edge. Please let that line come inside and then out, inside and then out. So it softens the upper lid. Now we'll just darken the pupil. So again, for the pupil, I recommend start the darkening from the inside and then move outside. And as you come to the outer edge of the pupil itself, reduce that dark edge, the pressure over there, and keep that line a little fuzzy. So even now, the eye is looking very, very sanitized. All the shapes are too precise, too well drawn. All this is going to change when we come to the reference image. There is a little bit of shadow on the inside as well, which you will notice when we make the real eye. The lashes at the bottom also follow the same rule, but they are much shorter and fewer than the lashes on the upper lid. Towards the inner corner of the eye, we have smaller lashes. Towards the outer corner of the eye, we have bigger lashes. They are never carefully combed and kept at equal distances, unless they're Sri Devi's eyebrows, eyelashes from the 90s. Each eyelash, I think, could be counted. It was that precisely made. Obviously, they were fake lashes, but that was something. When I tried drawing pictures of Sri Devi in the 90s, it was very frustrating. Rekha also, for that matter. They had a good competition with whose eyelashes are more uniform. Right. Now, coming to the eyebrow. Here again, there is a direction in which we make the eyebrow hair. We have them go not radially like this, but we start from the inner side of the eye, and then the direction of the hairs is going to move collectively towards the right. So you will have hairs, a few hairs from the top, which will come downward. But the ones that we see mostly are the ones from the bottom. So they all start moving in this direction. And I hope you all remember the function of the eyebrow. Haven't I told you why we have eyebrows? Okay.
I think I remember the sweat part.
Yes, yes. So those of you who don't know, maybe I can just go over it in a minute again. This will help you remember how the eyelashes are. Mine are almost going now. Oh my God. So the lashes are at a particular position on the eye where they are able to collect sweat. And you wonder, itni kya zarurat thi ki sweat, you can't even do this. So let's think about 100, 200,000 years ago when we did not have like homes and cars and weapons and things like that. And we were being chased by a predator. We are apparently one of the few animals that sweats and therefore has a lot of endurance. So even if you're chased by like a cheetah or something, they have very little endurance, though they have high speed. So if you're not caught in that first bit, you can continue running for 2 days away from your predator. But it's only because of sweating. So in sweating also, I believe it's the brain that needs to be cooled fastest. So we sweat a lot from our head and our forehead. And as we know with temperature, we want to cool the brain. So we will put those pattis when we have a fever. So forehead, for that matter, is like where all this sweat collects, and from there evaporation takes place. Now, in the time, for the sweat that is not evaporated, if it just comes down this like flat surface, it'll go straight into the eye because already we have a depression over there. And imagine your situation where you're running and running from your predator, and then that little sweat comes and goes in your eye, and you can't see, and you trip and you fall, and that's the end of your entire lineage. No more people will come out of you. So, in order for that to not happen, I think that people who evolved with some hair on their forehead were able to just run away from their predators and survived, and eventually now we are their lineage or their progeny. So the eyebrow is such that it will collect the sweat. Anybody who has a unibrow will also be like more superior than us, running away from predators, because everything will get collected here. And then it is because of the direction of how the eyebrows are growing that all the sweat is very efficiently just sent towards the outside and then drains down from the side of our eyes. I think that's among the most genius things the human body has designed. Apart from the fact also that if you don't have eyebrows, you really can't tell whether somebody is angry or whether they're happy. So making a face over here would be like only half the job. We might not even be able to read emojis if we do not have eyebrows. And ironically, emojis don't even have eyebrows most of the time. So that is the whole function of the eyebrow. And knowing that will help you to remember this structure. So I have come across eyebrows where all the hairs are pointing up, or all the hairs are pointing like they make such long lines in the eyebrows over here that you feel that you could just braid over there. So remember that these eyebrows have to go in this fashion. It's almost like a herringbone structure that you see. Long lines from one side, all working their way towards the side of the eye, and shorter and fewer lines from the top. If we just make lines over here, sometimes the eyebrow looks again too artificial. So in the center part, like this part of the eyebrow, you can create a little depth by adding some shadow. This shadow can also have direction. So instead of just making like a horizontal line, you can make this shade in the direction that we are going to place those hairs anyway. And don't make a sharp edge over there. Make it like a fuzzy edge. Some of the lines in your shading go up and down. So it doesn't look like a very sharp, very well tweezed eyebrow. And then the line that you draw also should be like one of those pendulous lines. Imagine the pencil is attached to a pendulum, and every time the line comes down, the pencil comes down, it starts making a gentle line, and then it becomes darker, and then as it leaves the paper, it becomes a gentle line again. This is the line we want to make as far as possible, even for the lashes and even for the eyebrows. So my strategy is to first make larger or eyebrows in different sections. So I don't by mistake make eyebrows going up. Train them from the bottom first. Here you will have eyebrows that start going up and then start turning to the right. I think women spend a lot of time on their eyebrows, so we should be able to remember these things a lot easily. I wonder if whether men even look at their own eyebrows.
I also don't.
You don't, Ariva?
No,
Very cool.
I never bothered with it.
me also. Never. Like I just am happy with what it is.
Oh, very
Yeah.
nice.
It's the hair on the ears that I have observed, or the hair in the nose that they are more concerned of.
Oh, yes. Oh my God. That is
Women.
so
It's
true.
right.
Different set of problems.
Correct. Here and there.
Yeah, but the moment they start looking at their eyebrows, you will find them effeminate.
Oh, yeah. That is also true. That's also true.
That is
Those
so true.
Notice it
metrosexual
on the
men.
airline crew. All the men on the airlines, all the stewards have their eyebrows
Yes,
nicely
Yeah.
tweezed.
that is so
Yeah.
true.
Yes, there is a reason
Think
why
now.
nature designed it that way, right? So when you alter it, it just doesn't look.
It looks different. That's true.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what I got bothered with. I tried it once because I had
Hmm.
to perform for some function. And I was so upset because it was so like not my face anymore.
Yeah. All right, so this is basically it. One last bit that we can do is if you have a very sharp pencil or if you have a mechanical pencil, you can make the, again, having said that, my mechanical pencil has run away from me. You can make these lines that form part of the iris. You will see this. You start making these lines in the same way. We want this same structure coming inward, not all the way in, but pointing towards the center. They are very subtle lines. They are there and their presence will be noticed when you look closer. They don't have to be shouting out. Even with a soft pencil, when you make these lines, they look pretty good. And by now, with all the shading you've done, if you've done it holding your pencil sideways, then the tip of the pencil will have become nice and sharp. If you're making these lines, remember that they won't be as visible at the bottom or not as numerous. And they're not always going all the way straight. Each of these has a different pattern. I mean, each of us has a different unique pattern of these folds in the iris. Some years ago, I remember reading an article on this in the National Geographic that you can identify a person by their irises. It's almost like a fingerprint.
I think that's one of the reasons why they do biometrics. I mean, have
Biometrics, yes, it's because of that.
fingerprint and eyes, yeah.
I think iPhone, like Face ID, so they read your iris. That's why
Yeah.
they keep it like that.
So I don't know whether this came first, the idea of the iris being a unique ID, or the photographer who first shot all these irises and had the exhibition. It could be science imitating art. Okay, so we have finished the eye. Any questions? This is your basic formula. Just this much, and practicing this will give you a lot of ease of drawing. You might come up with a few questions. We are now going to tackle with the reference images.
Yeah, I think I'm still struggling with the eyebrows.
Eyebrows? Okay.
I mean, the flow of the hair is not that easy. I mean, maybe the hand movement is not that easy.
Maybe. Okay, we'll examine that. So the first eye that I've shared with you, this is not an eye that is looking straight at us. It's looking a little away. So the circle that we draw for the iris over here is a little bit squished. But it doesn't matter. We can continue to just look at the shape and draw it the way we see it. See where the eye pupil is. It's a little closer to the left than to the right. I'm going to draw these lines and show you. So these are the modifications that I was speaking about. Let's go over how we draw with the formula. You have a straight line from the inner eye to the outer eye. We were drawing a straight line. Now this itself, you notice, in our photograph changes angles. So our starting point has changed. Now the curve for the eye, sorry, not from here, is a little more curved to the left of the line and flatter towards the right. Right? So it's a little more curved over here. And this side is again shallow and going upward. The tear gland comes, as we have drawn, comes straight down on the left and then becomes shallow and goes inward like so. The fold is very close this time to the eye. And the distance between the eye, let's say this is the distance. If I take the same distance up, yeah, so I get a ballpark in the same direction as this green line, not this blue line, but the green line that I drew first. That is the area where we will get the eyebrow. So we can easily draw it there. The curve, of course, will change because it's no longer applicable, what we had drawn earlier, because this eye is not looking straight. So here it might become a little more angular, but here we have to just look at the reference image and draw these things. Can you see the comparative changes, but the formula still can be used? With the lashes again, notice how the lashes that are pointing in our direction are straight, though they might look a little to the side of the eye. The lashes on the left are pointing towards the left. You can see how they turn down into the space of the white of the eye and then go up. These are really long lashes. And the thing that we have not tackled are the shadows in the sclera. Look at how dark the white of the eye is. In contrast, the highlight on the eye also will look really good. So I have to take this call, but you can start making this eye and then I'll come back. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so I will begin as well. Nobody's got any issues starting off, right? Okay, good. As you're drawing the lines, you can also keep looking at these words and checking before you draw. Is this the right shape? Is this the right proportion? Vagera, vagera. Now, a few tips to keep in mind. When you are drawing this, if your reference image can be in the same plane, it helps. If you're looking up and you're drawing down, you are losing information and you're also losing accuracy. In one plane, we see a certain way. In another plane, we see a certain way. What you see upright, that changes when the same image becomes horizontal. So if you're looking at the image on your laptop or screen, then hold the book upright. If you're looking at it on the phone or an iPad, which you can keep flat, very close to this, and your eye just shifts from one to the other, you will be able to get a better result. The second tip, which is a little late now, I realize, is when you're drawing these shapes, break the shape into straight lines. If I may just take a couple of minutes to show you this. So first is start off with the horizontal line that we used over here. With respect to the horizontal line, how do you see the eye tilted? We do not have a reference point unless we draw a horizontal or a vertical line. This is a very objective reference. Based on this, we can draw the next. Then you can draw straight lines like this. They're easier to draw and break up space. They're much easier than trying to draw accurate curves. Once you have made a shape like that, it's much easier to just round off certain parts and get the shape that you need. All these lines, the initial lines that you make them very light, because all of this can change as you start putting in more and more stuff in. So don't make dark lines, don't commit to any of these early lines.
So there is a bridge in Cambridge,
Hmm.
which is called a mathematical bridge.
Where
So
is that? In Cambridge?
yeah.
Okay.
So it looks curved, but it is made of straight lines.
Okay.
It's the same principle here.
Oh my God, I have to see this now. After you've drawn the basic form, again, if you can just give me a minute, I want to show you how to make this, the shading around it. Okay, so once you're happy with the shape, please erase this straight line, because this will now interfere with the shading. The shading we will do will also involve shading inside and outside the eye. So there is a particular shape of dark gray on the left. There is a little gray line along the edge of the iris. And then notice how the iris is a little to the left, like I mentioned. There is a triangular shaped highlight on the left of the pupil and a weird shaped highlight on the right. And then this highlight continues along the edge of the iris as well and into the rest of the eye. These things are very impressive when you're doing a pencil sketch. Arey Bapri, this looks so realistic, because obviously what is reflected on the eye is what the eye is seeing. So very rarely are you going to be in a situation where you're going to get this perfectly circular single highlight in the eye. You do see this in makeup ads where there are 6 different lights like that right around the pupil, and that looks very unnatural. So when shading, this is what I do. Hold the pencil far away and just using light lines, recreate the tone, the tonal value here. So currently we want to make a very, very light tone on this part of the eye, because after all, we need it to look like the white of the eye. It can't be really too dark. Once this is made, you try to match it with other places where you have shadows, where they might also be even darker. And then you start differentiating between the two by darkening the ones that, or adding more graphite to the areas where you can see there is more darkness. You don't have to finish one area before you move to the next, because each of these is like an adjustment here, an adjustment there, very seesaw-like. You will see a little bit of shadow along the corner of the eye, leading into the nose. But there's a highlight around this tear duct. And while sketching, actually, if you apply a little bit of a questioning mind to it, you might come up with why certain things are the way they are. At least I do that a lot and give my own explanation to things. Sometimes they're good, sometimes I get more information if I do some research about it. Like, for example, there is a bump over here. You can obviously see that because of the highlight. And I feel that logically this must be because the tears that are meant for the eye should remain in the eye as much as possible and not leak out. So it almost, this part almost looks like it's a dam. It's a little longer than I would like, but I'm going to keep it like that for now. The upper lid has got a highlight in this section. So I'm going to shade that as well. When shading like this at this stage without making a dark iris, I find that I'm able to control the outcome of the sketch better. When you fill up space with pencil, you get a better sense of the distances between lines. And I've come across this very often that I have miscalculated the distance between the lid and the fold, and then therefore even the eyebrow, because white space or white paper tends to look, tends to give mislead you about space. Let's put it that way. All this fuzzy shading, I can look at this and look at the reference image and sort of compare, are the spaces more or less matching? At this level, I feel my eyeball has become a little too big and this curve has become too extreme. But I like how it's looking. And since it's just a study, I'm going to let that be. Go ahead and shade the iris now. The iris is very complex for shading first. So just do this much and you know whether you're on the right track. Now it's just a matter of darkening everything the way you see it. If you treat the reference image like a project, a Lego project, look for a line, make that line. Look for a tone, make that tone. Then it's easily achievable. Don't look at the whole picture at all. Okay, now when making the upper lashes, if you'd see, because of the angle at which this picture has been clicked, there isn't a shadow touching the upper lid as we have done in this picture. It's a little higher because you can see the inner part of the upper lid as well, right here. And there isn't really a shadow as much because that part gets hidden underneath the upper fold. This is what happens when your face is looking down, but your eye looks up. Very natural. but the lashes are structured pretty much the same. So there's a little thickness that comes in towards the inner eye as well. And here you can see the shadow more clearly. And this lid line goes further towards the side and then kind of merges because we don't see anything over there. And there's a shadow there as well. If you have made this line dark right at this point, it will give a very subtle message that the eye is looking straight and normal, when in this case, the face is pointed downward, and that you can tell with this strange. And now you'll see how the line for the lashes just is like a simple line that comes down, backtracks, and goes up. A little from the left, a little from the right. And drawn right, drawn correctly, if you get this bottom part and you get the quality of the line, most of your eyelashes will look fine. You don't have to do too much. For the effort that we take before knowing how to make the lashes, and then when you start doing it, you realize it's really not such a big deal. You have to just follow the one of the lashes in the eye to get a structure, and then it's just a tangled mess of lines doing the same thing. So get the direction right. Don't clump them all together like Sri Devi's eyelashes. Make them in different places and start them from a little higher. So the thing is with lashes, they don't come out from the same point on the lid. One second. I'm still in class, so you can then you can start making those patterns. Do you want to sit here? Yeah, patterns. Remember the patterns you were making? Come, sit first and then I'll show you. I have a student for the in-person classes going to sit with us, but she's going to do her own thing. Yeah, so the lashes usually start from there's like layers of lashes that emerge from different places, very close to the tip. Yeah. So pay attention to the lengths of the lashes. No, so. Oh, come back. This is orange light. Okay. Oops. So once you draw the lashes, then you will get a lot of these lines on top, which will fill up the space over here, and you will be able to tell where to draw the next fold. Right, now on the fold, we have the shadow coming underneath the fold. And since it is a fold, the edge of that fold just gently peters off over here. It doesn't stop in one firm line. And as you start making the darker lines, you start comparing that to the other lines that you have, the other shades that you have, and start making them more accurate tone. That's the tonal value part here. Okay, are you seeing this emerging in your sketches? Now on the bottom lid as well, you can see how there's a dark line that goes from the inner edge of the lower lid towards the outer edge of the eye, and then there's a shadow here. So very often, these highlights in the eye are either created with the white liquid or sometimes by erasing away the existing graphite that you've laid out. Both techniques are perfectly fine. I prefer to first try to dodge around that shape. It's just a little more noddy, I guess. And then there's a thick lower lid. And then finally, we will make the eyebrows. As you can see, many of the hairs just look like a big tangle. So just replicate that tangle. And if you're unsure of the size or the shape or the placement, start from what you have identified as the center section, the center of the eyebrow section. And then with every line you draw, see whether you have drawn it in the right place, or then draw the extra line closer or further away. And then after all, when you're making parts of the face like that, this is a great way to evaluate whether you're getting that part right or wrong. So it doesn't matter if your eyebrow is a little different in the beginning, this is how you learn. But avoid excessive erasing. You will never be able to get there. And also, again, it goes without saying, if you feel the need to erase something, erase it after you have drawn the corrected line. Otherwise, you'll never know why you erase the original line. Now we are working with just one pencil over here, but you can imagine how in this sketch you would very easily be able to use those pencil kits which have 2B, 4B, 6B, 8B, those ridiculous darknesses, going right into charcoal pencil as well. So a project like this is very good for those tools. Again, I try to not use that, but I definitely use a dark pencil which has a soft lead for sure. So some places the tool helps, but don't let it limit you. You can still create shapes without having a soft pencil. That doesn't matter. In fact, you can try this with pen also. So I think I am at about 60% of the darkness my pencil can achieve. And I can keep making this darker. It'll get better. Okay, any questions?
Aditi ma'am, I sent my picture on the group. Can you see? This is my portfolio.
Okay, let me check. Arey wow, Ritika, very nice. What do you feel?
Your technique, when you said na, go section by section and just don't look at picture as a whole.
Ah,
That's
That
wow.
is,
Wow. So nice.
very impressive. Yes. So, okay, I think a few lashes in this V cavity might help. Not very long, but just a few short ones. They'll take the attention away from the blank space here. But overall, I really like the shading. Very nice, very strong, very good. And I can see where your eyebrows are suffering. So I'll tell you what, I think what you're doing is you're drawing exactly the lines that I'm telling you not to draw. So your line, you put your pencil down here and you just strike to the right, like
Yeah.
strike. No, don't do it that way. Take the pencil and go all the way and then gently lift it. So do it slowly first. In time, you will gain speed, but don't get these dots in the middle. If you're getting these dots at the start of the line, it's possible that you are pressing the line pencil too hard.
Yeah, I mean, I press and then I draw one line and then I draw another line. Yeah.
So yeah, this is what I've been telling not to draw.
Yeah.
This, because this is a very finite line. When you draw lines like this, now, they can merge into each other and you don't even know where the line has, how many lines there are and how they have started, how they have ended. Whereas these, they all have a start and a finish. So they don't overlap very smoothly. Can you see? One second. Okay, so if most eyes are done, do you want to at least see the painting part of the...
Aditi has sent mine also.
Okay, okay. Arey, wow, very good. These are wonderful eyes. Very
Thank you.
nice. I'm so impressed. Very nice. Very nice. Look at the highlight in this. Superb. Very good. Even
Thank you.
here. Very nice. Good. These are going on my Instagram for sure. Excellent. Very nice. So the thing about any kind of art or sketching, or in the process of learning to do it, only when it is on paper can you evaluate it. This is not like one of those things that I will contemplate and improve my my output by just meditating upon it. Doesn't work. And I suspect that it doesn't work for any field that you're learning. So in being able to succeed at this, one part is doing it and the other part is evaluating it. So you need to look at your pictures and go through the process of that, the 4 words that I have given you, and check where you have got it right and what you could have adjusted and made a change. So don't look at what is not working as a mistake. It's just something that you can work on. That way, the next time you're doing it, it is already registered. So in my case, I often used to make the eyeball too oval, a flattened oval. And I noticed that. So instead of saying my eyeball is not looking right or my iris is not looking right, I said that the next time I make an iris, I need to make sure that it is round. And I have to figure that out. So I realized that when I'm making circles upright, they look circles to me. But the moment I turn them on the side, they look ovals. The moment I realized that, I figured every time I make that iris, I make it upright and then I turn it on the side and make the adjustment. So you have a solution. The moment you identify what needs to be adjusted, using these same words, I say, okay, have I got the shape right? The shape doesn't look right. What can I do? Improve on the shape, and then I have to figure out. But I know exactly what has to be done. So in this case, with the eyebrows, everyone has, now that you've made the eyebrows, you can see what is happening. So the line has to be longer. The direction of the line has to be in a certain way. The distance has to be a certain way. And the quality of the line has to be a certain way. That's all. Right? So it is very doable. So the more eyes you make, you will keep oscillating between good, a little better, oh terrible. Good, a little better, good, terrible. So the instances of good and terrible keep occurring more frequently till one day it becomes excellent and you have no idea how it became excellent. So there's like a whole mystery thing. And then for a few days, you will not do any more practice because you feel, oh my God, I can't match that. So this feeling of achieving something by some miracle, and then the fear, paralyzing fear that you will never be able to replicate it. This is very normal, happens to everyone who's learning. After, let those few days go by, in that state, you'll be so adrenaline full that you won't be able to draw anything properly. And go back and expect that anything is possible. You may repeat your success also. When you say anything is possible, you don't have to say, oh, now I'm going to fail. I don't know how I did it. The not knowing part is what we have to now figure out. How did I come to that? How did I get the lines right? It's still the same things. How did I get the shapes right? How did I get the size right? What were the conditions in which I was sitting? Maybe I was sitting this way, holding my work upright, and I was sketching so I could see better. If you've done it, you can redo it. Okay, so it is going to be that process. And then over time, this whole thing of terrible, good, excellent, terrible, good, excellent, the spaces between your excellent work will start, or the time taken and the number of projects taken to do excellent work will start reducing. So it's terrible, good, terrible, good, terrible, terrible, good, good, terrible, good, terrible, good. Then it starts becoming terrible, good, 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 excellent. Then it goes to good, 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 terrible. Good, 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 terrible. Good, 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 excellent, good, excellent, good, 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 good. So that is how you keep moving between these three spaces. Okay. So it's 10 past or 11 past 11. As we're already over time, and I'd wanted to take maybe about 15-20 minutes to do the face. So if everyone's okay with it, can we do it next week? By then, maybe the others who've not attended last week can also watch the video and make that face. And then all of us can paint that in the first part of the class. And then the next week, we are doing the nose and mouth section as well. So that will be put together. One request for next week. Can we have the class on Sunday on the 22nd instead of the 21st? Is everyone free to do that?
I'm out of station. I'm out of station on 21st. So in case I'm to miss
On the
the class.
22nd?
Yeah. No, I'm out of station that whole week starting 21st.
Oh,
So
the whole week.
either way, I will miss it. Yeah.
Okay,
Either way,
either
I'll
Me
miss it.
too. I'm also missing. I'm traveling tomorrow.
Okay, so either Saturday or Sunday you're missing? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. How about the others?
I'm okay with whatever, Aditi.
All right, so then let's have the class on Sunday, the 22nd, same time, 9:30 or maybe 10. Sunday classes usually 10 is better, right, for everyone?
Yeah.
10 to 11:30 then. Okay. All right, thank you everyone. Practice more eyes and send me the eyes that you practice because I want to make an Instagram out of this.
Aditi, have a look at my eye also, please.
Yes, yes.
Should I show you the upgraded one?
Yes, why not? Oh, very nice. Susan's is also looking excellent.
Can you
Are
see
you
mine?
sharing it on the group or are
Yeah,
you?
no, I'm showing it to
Oh,
you here.
all right. Shivani is also showing me.
Nice.
Oh, wait a minute. This is looking excellent. Very nice.
I'll finish it and then I'll send
Yeah.
in the group.
Very good. Very nice, Ritu. Yours is also looking very good. The lashes, na, the gap between those two lashes, something we'll have to do. But nice, well done, everyone.
I think it's, how it just rolls up, that doesn't come very naturally.
Yeah, it's,
But so,
I know. It you need some effort to make that stroke. It'll come. Okay. All right. So shall we end the session for today? And I'll see you on Sunday. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Have a good weekend.
We're
And happy
meeting at
Onam.
3, right,
Happy
Aditi?
Happy Onam. Happy
yeah,
Onam to everyone.
Happy
You
Onam to
too.
everyone.
done already.
Happy Onam, happy
Bye.
Ganpati.
Aditi, are we meeting at 3, right?
Yes.
Okay.